You can't find a fighter, but I see it in you, so we gon' walk it out. Ooh, mountains, we gon' walk it out. And ooh, mountains, and I rise up, I rise like the day. I rise up, I rise unafraid. I rise up, and I do it 1,000 times again. And I rise up, I like the waves. I rise up, in spite of the age. I rise up, and I do it 1,000 times again. You, Good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning. Good morning. How are you? And welcome to Morning Light with the Athena Show. How are you doing, guys? How are you doing? Welcome in, welcome in. Good morning, good morning. Today we are not talking about perfection. We are talking about correction. Most people do not fear mistakes. They fear what the mistake says about them. You hear that? I'm going to go back that slowly. Most people, and I'm looking at you in the camera, most people do not fear mistakes. They fear what the mistake says about them. One wrong decision becomes a label. One bad season becomes a permanent identity. And before long, people start to define you. And before long, people are not learning from their past. They are defending it. So this morning, I want you to slow your mind down. Come down here with me this morning and consider something deeper. A mistake is not a character flaw. A mistake is evidence. Evidence that something in your thinking, your boundaries, or your environment needed adjustment. Ask yourself quietly, what if the mistake was never meant to define you? What if it was meant to teach you how to become or how to move differently? What if the mistake was to teach you how to move differently? Pause here. Breathe. Let that settle in. What if the mistakes we made in life was to teach us how to move differently? One at a time. First pillar. Mistakes are evidence, not your identity. So I want you to comment in the comment section if you may. Mistakes are evidence, not my identity. And let us start here. A mistake is information. It tells you what you did not see, what you were not ready for, or what you were avoiding. Many people say, I made a mistake, so something must be wrong with me. Have you ever said that to yourself? Because I have said it many times. Something must be wrong with me. Why am I making this mistake over and over again? That is not always the truth. Nothing is wrong with you. Sometimes nothing is wrong with your intelligence. Something was wrong with the conditions around you. Was it truly poor judgment, or were you emotionally tired? Was it lack of wisdom, or were you starving for validation? Was it ignorance, or were you ignoring truth you already felt? High level thinkers do not ask, why am I like this? They ask, what system produced this outcome? What system did I have in place that produced this outcome? Why am I thinking this way? Why did I make this mistake? What system did I put in place? Good morning, Sister Dawn. Good morning. How are you? Good morning, Fee. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. So as we continue, look back at one decision that still sits heavy in your heart. Look back at one decision that still sits heavy in your heart. Instead of shaming yourself, ask a stronger question. What did that moment reveal about your needs, your fears, or your boundaries? Because identity should never be built on your worst moment. Your identity should never be built on your worst moment. Pillar number 2. Why do smart people repeat the same mistake? Why do smart people repeat the same mistake? Repetition is not always stupidity. And a lot of times when we keep doing the same thing over and over, we're like, oh, why am I so stupid? Why am I keep doing this? I must be stupid. But let me give you some information here. Repetition is not always stupidity. Sometimes it is loyalty. Loyalty to a familiar emotional pattern. Your nervous system will choose familiar pain over unfamiliar peace. Y'all hear that? Your body, your nervous system will choose familiar pain over unfamiliar peace. That is why people return to the same type of relationship, the same workplace culture, the same emotional cycle, not because it is healthy, but because it feels known. Sometimes, and even if I want to pause for a minute, I am healed from abuse and what you call domestic abuse relationships. And I kept going back to the same thing because it felt familiar. It was familiar. It's not necessarily because I was in love with the person or I couldn't do better. It because it felt known. I did not want to start over. I didn't want to put in the time. I'm like, you know what? I already know this person, so let me just go back. And most times, when you see someone in an abusive relationship, when you see someone keep going back, and you on the outside saying, she's so stupid, why she keep going back there? Why is it she wants to, if this man hitting her, why is she going back? And the answer is simple, because it's familiar. Because it's known. Think about this. How many times have you mistaken familiarity for safety? How many times have you mistaken something familiar because it felt safe? How many times have you stayed in a relationship knowing that it's unhealthy, knowing that it's not good for you? And it doesn't have to be a romantic relationship. It could be friendships. How many times have you forgiven a friend knowing that this friend is narcissistic, knowing that this friend has done you wrong? How many times have you forgiven that person because it felt safe, because that person knew who you were, so you didn't want to start over a new friend? I say it all the time. I'm not looking for new friendships. I say it all the time. Do I necessarily, does it mean that I don't want to get to know new people? No. I am just sometimes, and the human part of me, the fear of starting over new friends and building that relationship and getting to know that person and their habits and what they like and don't like, and that person getting to know me. Sometimes that is work, and I don't want to do it. It doesn't feel safe. So when you see someone is going back to situations, sometimes it's safety. Another reason is attachment to potential. Many people do not fall in love with what is real. Good morning, Faye. How you doing, baby? They fall in love. They do not fall in love with what is real. They fall in love with what could be. Potential feels hopeful, but potential is not a promise. Somebody could have potential, but it's just hope. Potential is not a promise. Ask yourself this honestly. Did you choose based on evidence or imagination? Good morning, Mom. Did you choose based on evidence or imagination? And then there is identity. Some patterns survive because changing them would force you to admit you were wrong about who you thought you were. Guys, I am sharing this information, and trust me, as I was preparing it this morning at 3 o'clock this morning, it kind of woke up some thoughts in me, like, really? And I want to repeat this. Some patterns survive because changing them would force you to admit you were wrong about who you thought you were. Maybe you have always been the strong one, the fixer, the giver. Letting go of a mistake might mean letting go of that role. Y'all following me? If you following me, let me know. Sometimes it is very difficult for us as human beings to let go of something because we don't want to let go of the role, because we might be the fixer. Maybe we might be the person that's always putting things right. Maybe we might be the cook. Maybe we might be showing up for people. Maybe we might be the one who decorates. Whatever is the role, sometimes we don't want to let go of that role. Even though we know it's a mistake, we keep repeating over and over. We keep saying, oh, this person using me, this person this. We know it, but we don't want to walk away from it because we don't want to give up the role. And sometimes giving up the role is, that's why we keep being in the situation we're in, and we're calling it mistakes because we don't want to give up the role. So today, ask yourself, who would you be without the pattern you keep defending? Who would you be without the pattern you keep defending? Pillar number 3: guilt, shame, and responsibility. Guilt, shame, and responsibility. We need to separate these 3 things because many people confuse them. Guilt says, I did something wrong, right? Shame says, I am something wrong. And responsibility says, I can adjust. And I'm going to repeat that for you. Guilt says, I did something wrong. When you feel guilty, you're telling yourself, I did something wrong. And when you feel ashamed, you say, I am something wrong. Something is wrong with me. I am the problem, because you're ashamed. And responsibility says, I can adjust. I can do better. I will do better. I will not do this again. Right? So let's continue. Shame is loud and dramatic. Responsibility is quiet and disciplined. When you're ashamed, sometimes you see people reacting and carrying on about a situation, especially on social media. Shame is loud and dramatic. When you feel ashamed about something, it forces you to become loud in two ways. You can become so loud. Good morning, Janet. How are you doing, darling? You can feel so ashamed that you're going to come to social media and you're going to carry on and you're going to cuss out this person and cuss out Dawn and say, Dawn is this and Dawn. I'm going to give you a scenario. Dawn says something about Janet, right? Now, Janet knows Dawn is speaking the truth. Instead of Janet taking accountability and responsibility and adjust her behaviors, Janet now comes onto social media and Janet start going on and being dramatic and loud because shame. When you feel shame within, the human nature forces you to either react out of it or be responsible for it. And in this case, shame is loud and dramatic. When you're responsible for your behavior and you're accountable for your behavior, you are quiet and disciplined. You do not grow by punishing yourself. You grow by training yourself. I'm going to say that again. You do not grow by punishing yourself. You grow by training yourself. Some people replay their mistake again and again and again, hoping that enough emotional pain will somehow transform the situation or transform them. But suffering alone does not produce wisdom. Reflection plus action does. So I want us to ask ourselves, are we trying to learn or are we trying to suffer enough to feel forgiven? Are we trying to learn or are we trying to suffer enough to feel forgiven? Responsibility sounds like this. I see what happened. I see my part. And now I choose a different standard. That is the beginning of maturity, not perfection, adjustment. Pillar number 4, turning a mistake into strategy. And let us be practical about this because insight without action is just entertainment. Step 1, name the pattern, not just the incident. Name the pattern. Instead of saying, I choose the wrong situation, try saying, I move too quickly when I feel chosen. That level of honesty changes everything. I choose the wrong situation. So try saying, I move too quickly when I feel chosen. Because sometimes, and I'm going to go back to relationship back when I was younger, and you meet someone, you immediately, not immediately, but maybe like a month or 2 months later, you already calling that person my boyfriend, because we get into the habit of moving quickly because we feel chosen. That level of honesty changes your mindset. When you recognize what the problem is, it changes the mindset of how you choose your partner going forward. Step 2, identify the trigger. What was it? Loneliness, urgency, fear of missing out, pressure to prove yourself. Most mistakes are emotional reactions disguised as logical decisions. Good morning, Miss Marlin. Most, and I'm going to say that again, most mistakes that we make are emotional reactions disguised as logical decisions. Step number 3, build a new rule. Wisdom becomes real when it becomes a boundary. And everything that I'm sharing with you guys this morning, I've had to make these adjustments for my life. Because now that I look back, I don't call the events that I've gone through mistakes. I look at them as events that had to happen to for Athena to become the Athena she is today. Right? And that's one of the reasons why I chose this topic this morning, because a lot of times people say, oh, well, I made that mistake. Was it really a mistake, or was it something that needed to happen to make you a better you? Your new rule should sound like this: I do not make major decisions when I feel desperate. I do not stay where accountability is one-sided. I choose consistency over charisma. And step 4, practice the new rule in small moments. Transformation is not dramatic, it is repetitive. You train yourself into a new way of living. Let me say this clearly: a lesson is not a lesson until it changes your behavior. Now, I want to invite each one of you that are looking at me right now to share one new rule you want to adopt today. One new rule you want to adopt for yourself today. We all made mistakes in our lives. So you can't say we have not made mistakes or had events. And we all repeat things over and over again. We all repeat mistakes over and over again. So what is one rule you want to adopt today? One of the rules, and I'm going to share my rule while you think about it. One rule that I have adopted in 2025 for myself was to stop showing up without being asked. Because sometimes I had this habit of, the moment somebody shared their situation with me, I feel like I got to fix it. Oh my gosh, I gonna call Yonet, call me, Atino, I got this going on. I need this. Not necessarily something physical. She just got to call me and tell me she got something going on. And immediately, she ain't asked me, She ain't asked me to do it. She just called me to confide in me or to tell me the problem. And I would now jump and be like, Yonet, I know this body can help you. I gonna call this body. I gonna call the body. And then Yonet, now I help Yonet solve the problem. And then when you're not problem solved, you're not don't come back and tell me, girl, Tina, girl, I get through with everything and whatever. Now I get in my feelings. I get vexed. So last year, I made a decision to adopt not doing things without being asked. Don't give your service without it being requested. Because not every time somebody tell you a situation, it means that they're asking you for help. Sometimes they just want a listening ear, and you take it upon your bright self to get up and play Miss Mother Morris and fix the situation. So that is one of the decisions I have made and I have adopted to making to help me to be a better person. So I'm going to give you guys an opportunity to share with me one rule you will adopt. I sometimes feel like that way too. One rule you will adopt as I continue. Pillar number 5, redirection is not destruction. Redirection is not destruction. Some mistakes are not there to break you. They are there to interrupt a path that was never aligned with your future. There are moments in life when loss feels like punishment, but later you realize it was protection. A door closes because you were about to build your life somewhere you were never meant to stay. A door closes because you were about to build your life somewhere you were never meant to stay. This is not about romanticizing hardship. Pain is real. Disappointment is real. But refusing to learn from it makes the pain permanent. Refusing to learn from it makes the pain permanent. So ask yourself, if this mistake was a form of redirection, where is it guiding you that you keep resisting? Where is it guiding you that you keep resisting? Sometimes the lesson is not try harder. Sometimes the lesson is move differently, do things differently. Sometimes the lesson is not to try harder. Sometimes the lesson is to do things differently. And let us slow down before we end this morning's session. Mistakes do not cancel your purpose. Somebody type that in the comment section for the person that's going to come in on the replay. Mistakes do not cancel your purpose. They refine your purpose. They refine your purpose. Correction is not rejection. It is alignment. Your growth requires humility. If you are not a humble person, growth will be a struggle for you because you cannot grow if you are not humble. You cannot grow if you are not humble. Situations in life I now accept since it makes us a better person. In case in question, my divorce. Absolutely. Absolutely on it. And divorce, for one, is something that teaches you about yourself first. Most times it teaches you about you first, at least in my experience. Growth requires humility, and humility keeps a person teachable. In order for you to grow, you have to be teachable. I'm going to say that again. In order for you to grow, you have to be teachable. One of the struggles I had with being a leader in my paparazzi business was, when I used to do paparazzi, was coaching older women. For some reason, they felt because they were older than you couldn't teach them and they weren't coachable. But I want to encourage you because I learn from my children every day and I made them. I'm way older than them. You can learn from anyone. It doesn't matter the age. We are all here in this world to learn from each other. That's what makes us grow. I can learn from Yonet as much as I'm sitting on this video talking and I'm giving the information. There is information, or there are information that Yonet has within her that I can learn from her. And there is information that Dawn has within her that I can learn from her. And there's information that Miss Marlin has that I can learn from her. So do not feel that we cannot learn from each other. And that is the problem today with a lot of people. They cannot grow because they think they are better, or I have a degree, I have a master's, I have a doctorate. You can't teach me nothing. And that is absolutely not the right mindset to have, because you cannot grow if you're not a humble person. Humility is the fuel to growth. Humility is the fuel to growth. And humility keeps you teachable. Humility keeps you coachable. So today, instead of asking why you fell short, instead of asking yourself, why did I fell short, ask, what are you becoming because of what you fell short of? We are in a learning system. You see, you want to say, I learn from my students. Ask yourself, what are you becoming from your mistakes, instead of asking yourself, why did I fall short? I used to, when I was going through my challenges, one of my favorite songs, and I don't know if you guys know this song. Hold on, I'm gonna tell you. Why me, Lord? What have I ever done to deserve? I always used to use that, and I would burst into tears. I'd be like, why me, Lord? Why am I going through this? Why you choose me? You couldn't choose any other person to put through this. And so at one point, my anthem was Why Me, Lord. Every time I'm going through something, I would play that song on replay. Why me, Lord? What did I ever do? And I will cry and cry and cry. Not that because I don't understand the song, because the song is saying, Lord, why did you choose to bless me? Pretty much that's what the song is saying. But I used to connect that song for some reason. I used to connect that song to whatever pain I was going through. But here's it. Don't ask yourself today why. Ask yourself, what are you becoming of it? Because when I was a kid, when I was a little girl, I grew up, and I speak this often. And if you've been following me for a long time, you would know this story, but I'm going to go briefly into it before I disconnect from you guys. When my mother, fast forward, my mother married a man that I called my dad, because he's been in my life all my life. But in reality, I also have a biological father. And the trauma from having a biological father who was never in your life as a child, the trauma from that, you always feel when somebody is not doing something, or somebody mimics or mirrors a certain behavior. I used to, before I got my healing, before I went and got therapy and all of that good stuff, I used to feel abandoned, and I associate behaviors from friendships and even colleagues as abandonment. The moment I call you and you don't answer your phone, I don't look at it and say, you know what, you're not busy, she ain't there by your phone. I used to be like, oh, she abandoning me. Why she don't want to talk to me? She's ignoring me. I associated that with abandonment. If I text you, and even in my business, when I used to do paparazzi and I had a group of ladies and I message, and that was trauma that I had to work on myself, because sometimes we don't realize that when we are projecting an issue, it's pointing back to us and what we are feeling. Why are we reacting this way to this situation? And so sometimes I would message in the group and I would not get a response. And I would be like, why are they ignoring me? What did I do? Oh my God, did I fail? Did I make a mistake? But it wasn't them. It was me and my trauma of not having that person who was supposed to be there. So I associated those, every behavior, I associated it with abandonment. And sometimes with your healing, when you're healing as an individual, you have to start looking in as, why am I reacting this way to this situation? Why am I reacting this way to this situation? Is it because of me? Is it because of my trauma? What is it that makes me respond this way? And when you find the clues to why you are responding a certain way to a situation, it helps you to resolve and forgive. Because forgiveness is not for the person. A lot of times people believe that when I forgive Fee, or I forgive Faye, or I forgive Yonette, or I forgive Dawn, or I forgive Marlon, I am forgiving them for them. Forgiveness is for you. Forgiveness is letting go of what you're holding on to. So, reflect with me. Give me the courage to face what I did. So, I want you to first give yourself the courage to face your mistakes. Then give yourself the humility to learn from it. Ask God, God, grant me humbleness, humility to learn from the mistakes I have made. And then ask God to give you the discipline to change the mistake. And before you leave this life, I want you to answer one question in your heart. What is one mistake you are ready to stop defending and finally start learning from it? What is one mistake in your life that you have made, that you have spent the last couple of years, months, days defending, hours defending, that you are now making up your mind to learn from it? As I close this morning session, I would like for you to ponder on that. And if you feel led to put it in the comment section, I will come back and respond to you. If you don't feel led to put it in the comment section, it's okay. Sometimes we're not ready for our healing, because when you're ready for your healing, remember we talked earlier in the live today, we talk about shame. And when we feel ashamed, we have two different reactions. We either get loud and we abuse out and we get insulting, or we become classy and disciplined about it and we become responsible. We become responsible on how we react. Right? So I want to close this morning with a beautiful song, and then we will come off. So let's get back with the song that we started with this morning, and let's go. Let me know if you can hear the song. And it feels like it's getting hard to breathe, and I know you feel like dying, but I promise we would take the world to its feet. Ooh, mountains, bring it to its feet. Ooh, mountains, and I'll rise up, I'll rise like the day, I'll rise up, I'll rise unafraid, I'll All we need is hope. And for that we have each other. And for that we have each other. And we will rise. We will rise. We will rise. Oh, we'll rise. I'll rise up. Rise like the day. I'll rise up. In spite of the ache, I will rise 1,000 times again. And we'll rise up. I like the waves will rise up. In spite of the ache, we'll rise up. And we'll do it 1,000 times again. You will rise up from your mistakes. You will rise up from your mistakes. And we will do it 1,000 times because we're not perfect, but we know with God we can do all things through Christ who strengthens me and strengthens us. You guys have a wonderful day. See you back tomorrow morning. Let me know if this was inspirational to you. Let me know how today's show was in the comment section. And you guys have a very productive day. And remember, your mistakes are events to change how you do things. It's not a life sentence. It does not erase your purpose.